Lieutenant Commander HFY stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small blue planet grow larger on the main screen. His purple skin had dark markings that showed his rank in the Catherian Imperial Fleet. At 8 feet tall, with 4 powerful arms, he was a feared warrior across 17 star systems. Today should be just another easy victory. "Sir, the humans have agreed to meet us," reported his communications officer. The young Catherian's voice carried excitement. This would be his first planetary conquest. HFY nodded slowly. In his 40 years of military service, he had seen this pattern many times. The primitive species always wanted to talk first. They hoped their words could save them from the inevitable. It never worked. "Tell them we will meet at the neutral station in 6 hours, HFY ordered. "Prepare the standard annexation documents. This should not take long." 3 systems away, Captain Jake Morrison read the alien message on his command screen aboard the UNS Horizon. The 45-year-old naval officer had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. Though he hoped it would never come, now humanity faced its greatest test. "They want to meet in 6 hours, he told his senior staff. "Are we ready?" Dr. Lisa Park adjusted her glasses and checked her medical scanner one more time. The 38-year-old scientist had studied every piece of alien technology they had secretly obtained over the years. "The biological samples are prepared. We should learn a lot about them during the meeting." Communications officer Pete Collins looked up from his station. The 29-year-old had been monitoring alien transmissions for months. "Their language patterns suggest they see this as a formality. They expect us to surrender without a fight." Security Chief Amy Rodriguez checked her sidearm and smiled grimly. The 34-year-old former Marine had trained her entire adult life for combat with unknown alien species. "Let them think that. It will make things easier later." Captain Morrison nodded to his team. Each person on his ship represented humanity's best hope for survival. They had trained together for 5 years, ever since Earth's long-range sensors first detected the approaching alien fleet. Everything depended on playing their parts perfectly. The neutral meeting station hung in space, between the 2 fleets like a small metal moon. It had been built quickly using both human and alien specifications. Inside, the air was carefully balanced to support both species. HFY entered the main meeting room with 2 guards. He wore his full military dress uniform, covered in medals, from his many victories. The weapons at his sides had killed beings on a dozen different worlds. He expected the humans to be impressed and frightened. Instead, he found Captain Morrison and his team sitting calmly at a simple metal table. The humans had brought no guards and wore plain blue uniforms. They stood politely when the aliens entered but showed no signs of fear. "Welcome," Captain Morrison said in perfect Catherian language. "We appreciate you taking the time to meet with us." HFY was surprised. Most primitive species could barely speak their own languages properly, let alone learn Catherian. These humans had clearly prepared for this meeting. It would not change the outcome, but it showed they were not completely stupid. "I am Lieutenant Commander HFY of the Catherian Imperial Fleet," he announced in his deep, rumbling voice. "I speak for the Emperor and his 17 conquered worlds." "I am Captain Jake Morrison, representing the United Nations of Earth," the human replied. "These are my colleagues Dr. Lisa Park, Communications Officer Pete Collins, and Security Chief Amy Rodriguez." Dr. Park stepped forward with a small container. "We brought gifts to celebrate our first meeting. These contain examples of human art, music, and scientific discoveries. We hope they interest you." HFY accepted the container with one of his 4 hands. The gesture puzzled him. In his experience, primitive species either begged for mercy or made foolish threats. They did not offer gifts like equals meeting for the first time. "Your generosity is noted," he said carefully. "However, I must inform you why I am here. The Catherian Empire requires all inhabited worlds to accept our protection and guidance. Those who refuse face military action." The humans looked at each other but showed no panic. Captain Morrison folded his hands on the table. "Could you explain what this protection involves?" "Your world will become part of our empire," HFY explained. "Your people will serve the Emperor's needs. Your resources will support our civilization. In return, we will not destroy your cities or kill your population. Amy Rodriguez leaned forward slightly. And if we refuse? Then we will take your world by force, Zexai said simply. This is how the Empire has grown for 300 years. 17 species have learned to accept our rule. You will be the 18th. Pete Collins activated a small recording device. We would like to transmit your offer to our government. They will need time to consider such an important decision. Zexai almost laughed. Time to consider? These humans truly did not understand their situation. Still, he had protocol to follow. The Emperor's laws required giving each species one chance to surrender peacefully. You have 3 Earth days, he announced. After that, my fleet will begin the conquest of your world. I suggest you use the time wisely. Dr. Park asked several questions about Catherian society and technology. She seemed genuinely curious about their culture and history. Zexai found himself answering more thoroughly than usual. These humans were strangely calm for a species facing extinction. As the meeting ended, Captain Morrison stood and extended his hand. Thank you for explaining your position clearly. We will give our leaders your message. Zexai stared at the offered hand for a moment, then grasped it with one of his own. The human's grip was surprisingly firm for such a small creature. I hope your people make the wise choice, Captain Morrison. It would be wasteful to destroy a species that shows such promise. We will make the choice that serves humanity's future, Morrison replied. That much I can promise you. After the aliens left, the human team remained in the meeting room. Pete Collins activated a small device that would prevent any listening equipment from working. Only then did they speak freely. Did you get what you needed? Morrison asked Dr. Park. She smiled and held up a small scanner disguised as a medical device. Blood samples, skin cells, and detailed scans of their biological systems. Our weapons. Teams will know exactly how to hurt these things. Amy Rodriguez checked her own hidden recorder. I counted their weapons, analyzed their armor, and measured their reaction times. They are strong and tough, but they are not gods. Pete Collins downloaded data from his recording equipment. Their communication systems use quantum encryption, but I found 3 ways to break it. We will be able to monitor their fleet movements. Captain Morrison nodded with satisfaction. The first phase of humanity's plan was complete. For 50 years, Earth had prepared for this moment. Hidden weapons, secret technologies, and careful planning would soon be put to the test. Remember, he told his team, everything depends on them believing we are helpless. Let them think their victory is certain. When they discover the truth, it will be too late. The UNS Horizon departed the neutral station and began its journey back to Earth. Behind them, Zexai watched the small human ship disappear into space. He felt almost sorry for the brave little creatures. In 3 days, their world would burn, unless they surrendered. What Zexai did not know was that hidden sensors throughout the meeting station had recorded every detail of the Catherian delegation. Human scientists were already analyzing alien technology, while military planners prepared weapons specifically designed to exploit Catherian weaknesses. The hunt was about to begin, but the roles of predator and prey were not what they seemed. 3 days later, Captain Morrison returned to the neutral station. The UNS Horizon moved slowly through space, carrying what appeared to be Earth's final answer. Zexai watched the small human ship approach his flagship with mild curiosity. Most species begged for more time or tried desperate last-minute bargaining. These humans seemed different. Inside the meeting room, Morrison faced the alien commander with the same calm expression as before. His uniform was perfectly pressed, and his voice remained steady as he delivered Earth's response. Lieutenant Commander Zexai, Morrison began, the United Nations of Earth has carefully considered your offer. We must respectfully decline to join your empire. Zexai blinked his large yellow eyes in surprise. In 40 years of conquest, only 3 species had refused the Emperor's protection. All 3 had been completely destroyed within days. These humans clearly did not understand what they were choosing. Captain Morrison, Zexai said slowly, perhaps you did not explain our terms clearly to your leaders. We are offering your species survival. The alternative is extinction. Our leaders understand perfectly, Morrison replied. Earth will remain independent. We hope you will respect our decision and withdraw your fleet peacefully. For the first time since arriving in this system, HFY felt genuine confusion. These humans spoke as if they had some choice in the matter. Their scans showed primitive nuclear weapons and basic space technology. Against the Catherian Imperial fleet, they had no chance of survival. I see your people have chosen death over wisdom, HFY said sadly. My fleet will begin the attack in 12 hours. Use that time to prepare your souls for the next life. Morrison stood and offered his hand again. We will be ready for whatever comes, Commander. I hope you can say the same. Something in the human's tone made HFY pause. There was no fear in the man's voice, no desperation or false bravado. Morrison spoke like a warrior who had already chosen his battlefield. It was puzzling, but it changed nothing. After the humans departed, HFY returned to his flagship to prepare the conquest fleet. 300 warships hung in formation around his command vessel. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a continent. The humans would learn what happened to species that defied the Empire. Back on Earth, Colonel Dan Wright stood in the depths of Cheyenne Mountain, surrounded by screens showing military positions across the planet. The 50-year-old career soldier had spent 20 years preparing for this moment. Now all their hidden work would be tested. Falcon Base report status, he spoke into his headset. All railgun platforms ready, sir, came the reply from a voice he had never heard before. The weapons operator was stationed 3 miles underground in Montana, controlling artillery that could punch holes through starships. Eagle Base, report. Status. Stealth fighters armed and ready, sir. The new engines are running perfectly. These pilots flew aircraft that used technology reversed engineered from crashed alien scouts. The Catherians had no idea humans possessed such capabilities. Shark Base report status. All submarine platforms ready, sir. The ocean launch systems are fully operational. Beneath Earth's oceans, massive missile submarines waited with weapons designed specifically to penetrate alien shields. One by one, 50 hidden military bases reported their readiness. Each installation had been built in secret over the past 30 years. To alien scanners, they looked like natural rock formations or abandoned industrial sites. In reality, they housed humanity's most advanced weapons. Dr. Lisa Park worked frantically in her laboratory beneath Geneva. The biological samples from the alien commander had revealed crucial weaknesses in Catherian physiology. Their enhanced strength came from a complex chemical system that could be disrupted with the right compounds. The pathogen is ready, she reported to Colonel Wright. It will not kill them, but it will neutralize their physical advantages. We can deploy it through aerosol weapons or direct injection. How long will it take to affect them? Wright asked. 15 minutes for full effect. They will experience weakness, dizziness, and impaired coordination. Essentially, it will make them as vulnerable as we appear to be. Pete Collins sat in a bunker beneath Colorado, surrounded by the most advanced communication equipment on Earth. His fingers moved across holographic displays as he monitored alien fleet communications. The Catherians used quantum encryption, but human computers had been breaking their codes for months. Colonel, I am tracking their battle plans, he reported. They intend to destroy our major cities first, then hunt down any remaining resistance. They expect the war to last less than 3 days. How many ships are we facing? Wright asked. 300 combat vessels plus support ships. But sir, they are not taking any special precautions. They expect this to be another easy conquest. Wright smiled grimly. The aliens' confidence would be their downfall. Every Catherian ship was being tracked by hidden sensors. Human tacticians knew exactly where each enemy vessel would be when the battle began. Amy Rodriguez stood in a secret facility beneath Washington, D.C., watching as the last of Earth's hidden weapons came online. Soldiers in powered armor moved through training exercises, their mechanical suits allowing them to match alien strength and speed. How many troops do we have ready? Wright asked her. 50,000 in full combat gear, sir. Another 100,000 in support roles. Each soldier has been training against holographic Catherian opponents for 2 years. What about the boarding teams? Ready, sir. We have detailed plans of their ship designs from previous encounters. Our people know exactly where to hit them when the time comes. Wright nodded with satisfaction. Everything was proceeding according to the plan developed over 5 decades of careful preparation. Humanity had learned from every species the Catherians had conquered. They knew the aliens' tactics, their weaknesses, and their psychology. Admiral Helen Torres commanded the hidden fleet from a base inside the asteroid belt. Her ships used advanced stealth technology that made them invisible to alien scanners. For 30 years, humans had been building warships designed specifically to fight the Catherian Empire. "All vessels report ready, Admiral," her communications officer announced. "The enemy fleet is maintaining standard formation. They show no awareness of our presence." "Excellent," Torres replied. "When the surface battle begins, we will hit them from behind. They will find themselves caught between two forces they never saw coming." The Admiral's flagship was humanity's most advanced warship, incorporating technology from a dozen different alien civilizations. Earth had not been idle during the centuries since first contact with other species. They had learned, adapted, and prepared. On the Catherian flagship, Zexhai reviewed the final attack plans with his senior officers. The conquest would begin with orbital bombardment of Earth's major cities. Any surviving military forces would be hunted down and destroyed. It was a pattern they had followed successfully on 17 worlds. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "our scans show the humans have concentrated their defenses around population centers. They appear to be trying to protect their civilians." Zexhai nodded approvingly. As expected, primitive species always make the same mistakes. They cannot separate emotional decisions from tactical necessity. What Zexhai did not realize was that the human defenses his sensors detected were carefully placed decoys. The real weapons remained hidden, waiting for the aliens to commit their forces. Every aspect of Earth's apparent defensive strategy was designed to reinforce Catherian assumptions about human capabilities. As the 12-hour deadline approached, both sides made their final preparations. The Catherians checked their weapons and planned their victory celebration. They had done this so many times that conquest had become routine. The humans activated systems that had waited in silence for decades. Weapons powered up in hidden bunkers. Soldiers took their positions in secret bases. Ships moved into attack formations that enemy sensors could not detect. Colonel Wright stood before a massive display, showing the positions of both fleets. In now a few hours, the Catherians would learn that their prey had been hunting them all along. The question was not whether humanity would survive, but whether any aliens would live to warn their empire of what they had encountered. "All units, prepare for Operation Mousetrap," Wright announced to his commanders. "The galaxy is about to discover what happens when you corner a human." The Catherian conquest fleet moved into Earth's solar system like a dark storm cloud. 300 warships arranged themselves in perfect attack formation, their weapons charging for the first strike. Zexhai stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small blue planet grow larger on his screens. "Sir, all ships report ready for bombardment," his weapons officer announced. The young alien's voice carried excitement. This would be his first planetary conquest, and he expected it to be over quickly. "Begin with the major population centers," Zexhai ordered. "Target their capitals and military bases. Standard conquest protocol." The first wave of plasma beams lanced down toward Earth's surface. Brilliant streams of energy that could melt mountains struck what appeared to be humanity's primary defense installations. Zexhai expected to see massive explosions and burning cities on his screens. Instead, the deadly energy beams struck invisible barriers and scattered harmlessly into space. Massive shield generators hidden for 30 years had activated across Earth's surface. The planet was protected by technology that rivaled anything in the Catherian arsenal. "What is happening?" Zexhai demanded, staring at his tactical display, in confusion. "Why are our weapons not penetrating their defenses?" Before his weapons officer could answer, space around the alien fleet exploded with hidden fire. Enormous railguns, disguised as asteroid mining equipment, began launching projectiles at tremendous speed. The kinetic round struck Catherian ships faster than their shields could react. The first alien warship to die was the destroyer Blade of Victory. A tungsten rod traveling at 20% of light speed punched through its hull like tissue paper. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash, taking 300 crew members with it. 2 more ships died in the first 10 seconds as railgun rounds found their targets. HFY watched in growing horror as his supposedly invincible fleet came under attack from weapons that should not exist. "Sir, we are detecting multiple launch signatures from the planet's surface," his tactical officer reported, his voice rising with panic. "Hundreds of missiles incoming." "Impossible," HFY growled. "Our intelligence shows they have primitive nuclear weapons at best." The missiles that rose from Earth's surface were anything but primitive. Each one carried warheads designed specifically to defeat Catherian shields and armor. Dr. Park's research had provided the exact frequencies needed to disrupt alien defensive systems. Colonel Wright stood in his command bunker, watching the first phase of Operation Mousetrap unfold on his screens. Decades of planning and preparation were finally being put to the test. So far, everything was working exactly as designed. "Falcon Base, continue targeting their larger ships," he ordered. "Eagle Base, launch the first fighter wing." High above, Earth's atmosphere, hidden launch bays opened to reveal humanity's true air force. Sleek fighters using anti-gravity engines burst into space, moving faster than anything the Catherians had ever encountered. These pilots had trained for years in simulators based on captured alien technology. Lieutenant Sarah Webb led the first fighter squadron into battle. The 26-year-old pilot had never flown in real combat, but she had logged over 1,000 hours fighting holographic Catherian ships. Now she faced the real thing. "Phoenix Squadron, engage targets of opportunity," she transmitted to her wingman. "Remember hit-and-run tactics, don't let them get a lock on you." Her fighters' weapons were specially designed to penetrate alien armor. Particle beams and plasma cannons, reverse-engineered from crashed enemy scouts, turned the human fighters into deadly opponents. The first Catherian pilot to face Lieutenant Webb died without understanding what had killed him. HFY's fleet, which had expected to face primitive resistance, found itself fighting for survival against an enemy that seemed to know their every weakness. Human weapons struck with surgical precision, targeting critical systems and exploiting design flaws in Catherian ships. "Sir, we have lost 12 ships in the first 5 minutes," his tactical officer reported. "The humans are using technology we have never encountered before." "That is impossible," HFY snarled. "Our intelligence shows they are a primitive species. Where did they get such weapons?" Amy Rodriguez led the first boarding mission against a crippled Catherian cruiser. Her assault team used powered armor that allowed them to match alien strength, while providing superior protection. Each soldier carried weapons specifically designed to be effective against Catherian physiology. "Remember, these aliens are tough, but they bleed just like anything else," she told her team, as their boarding craft approached the enemy ship. "Use the biological weapons if they try to fight hand-to-hand." The human soldiers moved through the alien vessel with deadly efficiency. Their armor allowed them to shrug off enemy fire while their weapons cut through Catherian defenses. Dr. Park's pathogen, delivered through aerosol grenades, left the alien crew weak and disoriented. In space above Earth, Admiral Torres revealed humanity's hidden fleet. Dozens of warships constructed in secret over 3 decades, decloaked around the Catherian formation. The aliens suddenly found themselves surrounded by enemies they had never detected. "All ships commence firing," Torres ordered from her flagship. "Target their command vessels first. Let's cut the head off this snake." The human warships opened fire with weapons that incorporated technology from across the galaxy. Humanity had not been idle during their centuries of contact with other species. They had learned, adapted, and improved upon everything they encountered. HFY watched his proud fleet being torn apart by an enemy he had dismissed as harmless. Ships that had conquered 17 worlds died under human fire. Warriors who had never known defeat fell to soldiers they had considered primitive. "Sir, we are receiving surrender requests from 6 of our ships," his communications officer reported. "They are requesting permission to withdraw." "Denied," HFY growled. "The Catherian Empire does not retreat. All ships will continue fighting, until victory or death." But victory was becoming impossible to imagine. Human forces seemed to anticipate every Catherian tactic. When the aliens tried to regroup, hidden weapons platforms caught them in crossfire. When they attempted to retreat, human fighters harassed them from all sides. Pete Collins monitored alien communications from his bunker beneath Colorado. Then he saw quantum encryption he had been breaking for months allowed him to listen to every Cytherian transmission. What he heard was the sound of an empire learning fear for the first time. "Colonel, their fleet commanders are requesting reinforcements," he reported to Wright. "They don't understand how we're defeating them." "Good," Wright replied. "Let them call for help. We have surprises waiting for any reinforcements that arrive." Dr. Park watched the battle unfold from her laboratory, analyzing data from each engagement. The biological weapons were working perfectly, neutralizing the Cytherians' physical advantages. Combined with superior human tactics, the alien warriors found themselves outmatched for the first time in their history. "The pathogen is spreading through their ventilation systems," she reported. "Even crews that haven't been directly exposed are showing reduced combat effectiveness." As the battle raged, more human assets revealed themselves. Submarine platforms in Earth's oceans launched missiles that struck alien ships from unexpected angles. Underground bases that had appeared inactive for decades came alive with activity. The Cytherian fleet, which had entered the solar system, expecting an easy victory, found itself caught in a carefully planned trap. Every aspect of the human defense had been designed to exploit alien overconfidence and tactical assumptions. Zexai realized with growing horror that his species had made a fundamental miscalculation. These humans were not the primitive prey they appeared to be. They were predators who had been studying their hunters for decades, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As his flagship shuddered under human fire, Zexai faced a reality no Cytherian commander had ever confronted. The mighty Imperial fleet was losing a battle they should have won easily. The question was no longer how quickly they could conquer Earth, but whether any of them would survive to report their failure. The Cytherian fleet continued to die under human fire. What had started as a routine conquest was turning into the worst military disaster in their empire's history. Zexai gripped the command rail of his flagship as another explosion lit up the darkness of space. His proud warships, built to intimidate and destroy, were being picked apart like prey animals. "Sir, we have lost 37 ships," his tactical officer reported. The young Cytherian's voice shook with disbelief. "The humans are coordinating their attacks with perfect precision. They know exactly where to hit us." Zexai studied the battle display with growing dread. The human attacks were not random or desperate. Every strike targeted critical systems, every movement exploited Cytherian weaknesses. These creatures had studied his people's military doctrine better than some of his own officers. "How are they predicting our formations?" he demanded. "It is as if they can read our battle plans." In his bunker beneath Colorado, Pete Collins smiled as he intercepted another Cytherian tactical transmission. The aliens still had no idea their communications were being monitored in real time. Every order, every change in strategy reached human commanders before some Cytherian ships even received them. "Colonel Wright, their 7th Fleet is trying to establish a defensive line near the moon," Collins reported. "They are grouping their remaining heavy cruisers together." "Shark Base, you heard the man," Wright responded immediately. "Target that formation with the deep space torpedoes. Let's break up their party." From hidden bases throughout the solar system, weapons that had waited decades for this moment launched their deadly cargo. The torpedoes used technology that the Cytherians had never encountered, moving through space without creating the energy signatures their sensors could detect. Admiral Torres watched from her flagship as the alien formation dissolved under the surprise attack. Cytherian ships that had survived the initial assault now faced weapons coming from directions they thought were empty space. The psychological impact was devastating. "Sir, several alien ships are trying to retreat to the outer system," her tactical officer reported. "Should we pursue?" "Negative," Torres replied. "Let them run. We want survivors to carry word back to their empire. Fear spreads faster than weapons." Amy Rodriguez finished clearing the alien cruiser she had boarded with her assault team. The Byair Cytherian crew, weakened by Dr. Park's biological weapons, had offered little resistance once human soldiers reached their ship. Now the vessel belonged to Earth's growing collection of captured alien technology. "Command, this is Rodriguez," she transmitted. "The cruiser is secure. We have 43 prisoners and intact computer systems. Intelligence teams can start the data extraction." "Excellent work, Chief," Wright responded. "Move your team to the next target. We need to capture as many ships as possible while they are still confused." The boarding operations were going better than anyone had hoped. Human soldiers in powered armor proved superior to Catherian warriors who relied on their natural strength. When that strength was neutralized by biological weapons, the aliens found themselves helpless against human tactics and technology. Lieutenant Sarah Webb led her fighter squadron in another attack run against a Catherian battle group. Her pilots had adapted quickly to real combat, using techniques that no alien pilot had ever faced. They struck like lightning, then vanished before enemy weapons could track them. "Phoenix Leader, we have multiple kills," her wingman reported. "These aliens fight like they have never faced real opposition before." Webb nodded as she lined up another target. "That is exactly what they are, Phoenix 2. They have been bullying weaker species for centuries. Now they are facing someone who fights back." Her plasma cannons lanced out, punching through the shield of a Catherian destroyer. The alien ship lost power and began drifting helplessly through space. Within minutes, human boarding teams would claim another prize. Dr. Park monitored the biological effects of her weapons from her underground laboratory. The pathogen she had designed was working even better than expected. Catherian crews throughout the enemy fleet were experiencing the weakness and disorientation that came with their enhanced physiology being disrupted. "Colonel, the biological weapons have affected approximately 60% of their fleet," she reported. "Even ships we haven't directly attacked are showing reduced combat effectiveness." "How is that possible?" Wright asked. "The pathogen is spreading through their life support systems," Park explained. "Catherians share air and water between ships when they dock for resupply. Our weapon is moving through their entire fleet like a plague." This revelation changed everything. The humans were not just winning a battle. They were crippling an entire invasion force with weapons the aliens had never imagined. The Catherian Empire's greatest strength, their interconnected fleet structure, had become their greatest weakness. Zexhai received reports from across his dying fleet with mounting horror. Ships that had conquered worlds were being destroyed by creatures he had dismissed as harmless. Warriors who had never tasted defeat were surrendering to preserve their lives. "Sir, the destroyer Swift Death is requesting permission to surrender," his communications officer reported. "Their crew is too sick to fight." "Denied," Zexhai snarled, though his voice lacked its usual conviction. "Catherian warriors do not surrender. Sir, with respect, Catherian warriors have never faced anything like this before," his tactical officer said quietly. "These humans are not fighting like any species we have encountered. They knew we were coming. They were ready for us." The truth of those words struck Zexhai like a physical blow. Everything about this battle suggested long-term preparation. The humans had not just defended themselves, they had set a trap that his entire fleet had walked into willingly. In the depths of space, more human assets revealed themselves. Colonel Wright had been holding his most powerful weapons in reserve, waiting for the perfect moment to deploy them. Now, as the Catherian fleet struggled to regroup, he unleashed humanity's final surprise. "Deploy the gravity mines," he ordered. Invisible weapons positioned throughout the solar system over the past 20 years, activated around clusters of alien ships. The mines created localized gravity fields that pulled Catherian vessels together, making them perfect targets for human artillery. Zexhai watched in fascination and terror as his ships were drawn together by forces he could not see or understand. Human weapons fired into the compressed formations, destroying multiple targets with each shot. It was military precision unlike anything in his experience. "All ships, emergency scatter pattern," he ordered desperately. "Break formation and retreat to minimum safe distance." But the retreat only exposed his fleet to more human weapons. As Catherian ships tried to escape, they ran into minefields and weapon platforms that had been waiting in the outer system. Every direction led to more danger. Pete Collins intercepted a transmission that made him smile grimly. "Colonel, the aliens are trying to call for reinforcements from their home system." Should we jam the signal? No, Wright replied after a moment of thought. Let them call for help. When those reinforcements arrive, we will be ready for them too. The colonel's confidence was not misplaced. Earth's defensive preparations extended far beyond the solar system. Hidden listening posts and weapon platforms had been placed along every likely approach route. Any Catherian reinforcements would face the same surprise their advance fleet was experiencing. As the battle entered its 6th hour, the outcome was no longer in doubt. The Catherian fleet that had entered Earth's system with overwhelming confidence was being systematically destroyed. Of the 300 ships that had come to conquer humanity, less than half remained combat effective. HFY stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his career and his empire's reputation burn in the vacuum of space. For the first time in Catherian history, their fleet was retreating from a battle they should have won easily. The questions this defeat would raise back home were almost as terrifying as the humans themselves. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet commander. Admiral Torres requests permission to speak with you directly." HFY closed his eyes for a moment, then nodded. "Put her through." The face that appeared on his screen belonged to a middle-aged human female with cold, intelligent eyes. When she spoke, her voice carried the confidence of someone who held all the advantages. "Lieutenant Commander HFY," Admiral Torres said, "I believe it is time we discuss the terms of your surrender." 2 days after the battle ended, HFY found himself aboard the UNS Horizon as a prisoner of war. The same ship that had carried humanity's surrender had now become his prison. The irony was not lost on him as he sat in the small but comfortable detention cell, wondering how everything had gone so wrong. Captain Morrison entered the cell with the same calm expression he had worn during their first meeting. The human carried a data pad and 2 cups of what appeared to be a hot beverage. He offered one cup to HFY, who accepted it cautiously. "It is called coffee," Morrison explained, sitting down across from the alien commander. "Humans drink it when we need to think clearly. I thought you might find it interesting." HFY tasted the bitter liquid and found it surprisingly pleasant. "Why are you treating me with such kindness? I came here to destroy your world." "Because destroying you would serve no purpose," Morrison replied simply. "We need you to understand what happened here, so you can explain it to your people." "Explain what? That the mighty Catherian Empire was defeated by a species we considered primitive?" Morrison smiled slightly. "Explain that your empire made a fundamental error in judgment. You assumed that because we appeared weak, we actually were weak. That mistake has cost you dearly." Over the next several hours, Morrison revealed the true scope of humanity's preparations. He showed HFY recordings of the hidden weapon systems, the secret military bases, the advanced technology that had remained invisible to alien sensors. Each revelation struck the Catherian commander like a physical blow. "You want to know how we knew you were coming," Morrison said, activating a holographic display. "We have been watching your empire for over a century. Every species you conquered, we studied. Every battle you fought, we analyzed. We knew that eventually you would come for us." The display showed the locations of human observation posts throughout Catherian space. Disguised as asteroids, space debris, or abandoned equipment, they had been monitoring alien activities for decades. The Empire had unknowingly been under constant surveillance. Dr. Lisa Park joined them in the meeting room, carrying her own collection of data. The scientist who had developed the biological weapons looked tired but satisfied as she explained her research to the alien commander. "Your people's enhanced strength comes from a complex chemical system," she told HFY. "Once we understood how it worked, designing a disruption agent was relatively simple. We could have deployed it decades ago, but we waited for the right moment." "Why wait?" HFY asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. "Because we needed to be certain it would work against your entire fleet," Park replied. "One chance, one battle, one opportunity to show your empire that humanity was not defenseless prey." Colonel Wright appeared on the communication screen from his command bunker. The military officer who had coordinated Earth's defense looked like a man who had just completed a lifetime's work. "Commander HFY, Wright said formally. I want you to understand something important. Everything you witnessed in the past few days was planned 50 years ago. Your tactics, your formation patterns, your response to unexpected resistance. We predicted all of it. How could you know so much about our military doctrine? HFY demanded. Because your empire has used the same tactics for 3 centuries, Wright explained. You conquered 17 worlds using identical strategies each time. We studied every battle, analyzed every decision, and prepared countermeasures for every possible action. The revelation that shocked HFY most was still to come. Admiral Torres materialized as a hologram in the meeting room, her expression serious as she delivered the final piece of the puzzle. Commander, I need to tell you something that will be difficult to accept, Torres began. We could have defeated your empire decades ago. We had the technology, the weapons, and the knowledge necessary to destroy your fleets. Then why did you not? HFY asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Because destruction was not our goal, Torres replied. We needed to wait until we could defeat you so completely that your empire would never threaten anyone again. 1. Victory against one fleet would not have been enough. Morrison activated another display, showing the current status of Catherian forces throughout the galaxy. Hidden human weapons platforms were revealing themselves in dozens of star systems. The biological agent that had weakened the invasion fleet was spreading through Catherian space, carried by their own supply ships. Your empire is experiencing what humans call a cascade failure, Morrison explained. Every interconnected system that made you strong is now spreading our countermeasures. Your fleets are becoming increasingly unable to fight effectively. Pete Collins joined the meeting via communication link from his monitoring station. The young officer who had been breaking Catherian codes looked pleased as he delivered his report. Commander, your high command is in complete confusion, Collins announced. They are receiving reports of human activity in systems they thought were secure. Some of your commanders are requesting permission to negotiate ceasefires. That is impossible, HFY protested. The Catherian Empire has never negotiated with inferior species. Your empire has never encountered a species that was prepared for your arrival, Morrison corrected gently. We have been in contact with several worlds you conquered. They are very interested in joining a new alliance against Catherian expansion. The scope of humanity's long-term planning became clear as more details emerged. Earth had not just prepared to defend itself. It had laid the groundwork for liberating every world under Catherian control. Hidden weapons caches, communication networks, and resistance movements had been established across the galaxy. Amy Rodriguez appeared on the screen from the captured Catherian cruiser she now commanded. Her assault teams had been busy extracting information from alien computer systems, revealing the locations of every major military installation in the Empire. We have complete maps of your territory, she reported to HFY. Fleet positions, supply routes, command structures. Your military has no secrets from us anymore. You have been planning this for generations, HFY realized, his voice filled with a mixture of admiration and horror. Your entire species has been working toward this moment. Not just our species, Morrison corrected. We have been working with refugees from worlds your empire conquered. Former Catherian subjects who have been waiting for someone to challenge your rule. They provided much of the intelligence we needed. The final revelation came when Morrison showed HFY the terms of Earth's proposed peace agreement. The document was not a demand for Catherian surrender, but a comprehensive plan for galactic reorganization. Your empire will withdraw from all conquered territories, Morrison explained. Those worlds will be given the choice of independence or joining a new galactic confederation. Catherian aggression will be monitored by an international peacekeeping force. And if we refuse? HFY asked. Then your empire will continue to weaken until it collapses from within, Morrison replied simply. The biological agent we deployed is not fatal, but it will make your species increasingly unable to maintain military dominance. Eventually, your own subjects will overthrow you. Dr. Park leaned forward across the table. We designed the pathogen to be reversible, she added. Accept our terms and we will provide the cure. Refuse, and your people will become as physically vulnerable as any other species in the galaxy. As the meeting concluded, HFY understood the true scope of what had happened. Humanity had not just won a battle, they had engineered the downfall of an entire empire. The species he had dismissed as primitive had been playing a game on a scale that Catherian minds could barely comprehend. "You will return to your people with our terms," Morrison said, as guards prepared to escort HFY to a transport ship. "Tell them what you have learned here. Help them understand that the galaxy has changed forever." HFY stood slowly, still struggling to process everything he had witnessed. "My people will find it difficult to believe that we were defeated by creatures we considered inferior." "Then remind them of something important," Morrison replied. "We were never inferior. We were simply patient. There is a difference between appearing weak and actually being weak. Your empire never learned to recognize that difference." As HFY was led away to begin his journey home, he realized that his mission had been completed, but not in the way anyone had expected. He had come to conquer Earth and instead had discovered that Earth had conquered his empire without firing a shot until the very end. The galaxy would never be the same, and the Catherian Empire would never again underestimate the quiet species that had taught them the difference between strength and wisdom.